Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals and about Sophie Turner and Taylor Swift. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 160. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we're going to have episodes out for the next 2 weeks if everything goes well. And then we'll be off on October 28th.
Ooh, spooky season.
I know it. Speaking of that, I've been watching this show on Netflix called Encounters. It's about people who see UFOs. And I watched 2 of them. And there was this incident in 1994 in Zimbabwe where all these kids saw aliens. And I believe them.
Like just walking around or UFOs?
The UFO came down in the back of their school. And no one believed them. Everybody was kind of mean to them. But then this psychiatrist from Harvard who was doing the talk show circuit because he believed he was the person to go to if you were abducted in the 90s. And he believed everybody. He said that there's no way that they didn't experience something based on how they were acting. It was really good. I was very interested in it.
I might check that out. Is it scary at all?
A little bit. Like, the people have trauma, and that's what makes it so believable, because you could tell they have PTSD from it.
Yeah. That was like that. We talked about it before, the unsolved mysteries about the Michigan UFOs. And how many people saw phenomenon and then even years later when they recall it, they're like, oh my God, that really happened.
You can tell that they're telling the truth and that they really experienced that. Like, you can't fake that. These people are not that good actors. And they tell the same stories. And all these kids had the same stories about what the aliens looked like, etc. And it was very similar to what the now adult women said they saw as teenagers in Brazil in that other documentary I watched.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, I think it's called Moment of Contact.
So you're really getting into UFOs and aliens now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I so believe now.
I was surprised that Cardi B does not believe. She was talking about art of war and how Earth is the ghetto of the galaxy and all that stuff. I thought that was interesting that she doesn't believe.
I didn't watch her Hot Ones yet. But you would think maybe she's not watching the right stuff. Like, if she watched the right stuff, she might believe.
Well, I understood her logic of, why would this superior race of beings come to visit Earth? My understanding of the motivation for why they would come down is that they're studying us. It's not about invasion. It's about research. Oh my God, my cat. My cat almost knocked over the microphone.
Oh my gosh. So you're watching a cat for your friend who moved. Which cat almost knocked down the microphone?
No, my cat, my regular panther kitty. He's been especially needy since I have a third cat now in the house. Normally I just have 2 boy cats. One is my baby, my panther cat. And then the second cat is its ancient old ginger, just idiot, fatty... But he's more like a roommate. He just stays outside for the most part and just chills on the deck. But this new cat, I don't want to keep her at all.
Aww.
I've been debating with myself about whether or not to keep the cat. And then 2 things happened within hours today. So
what happened?
She took a shit on my kitchen floor.
Yeah, that was a message.
That was a message. And then she broke a glass candle holder. Just broke it.
Oh my gosh. Was it worth any,
No, it was just...
it's still annoying to clean up glass.
Yeah, it was glass on a carpet.
Ugh. So you're probably going to give her to a no-kill shelter.
Yeah, no-kill shelter. Only they're making it really difficult for me to... I had no idea that there was this much paperwork involved.
Damn. Yeah, they're hardcore, some of those animal rescue organizations.
I'm honestly trying to do the right thing. And I have all these mixed feelings, or I did have all these mixed feelings until the cat shit on my kitchen floor.
Ugh. I remember when I got my kitten, she's since gone to the Rainbow Bridge, but she pooped right on my bed. It was so nasty.
I don't understand what message she was trying to send me other than she's not happy and I'm not doing what she wants me to do. But like,
yeah,
I'm feeding her, I'm paying attention to her. She's just a fucking bitch. I think that's the thing.
They take a long time. Cats take a while to get acclimated to you. And if it's not your cat and you were just doing a favor, yeah, I'm sorry you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk you into keeping her on the phone yesterday. I was like, oh.
And right up until the moment where she shit on my kitchen floor, I was half and half about whether or not I was going to keep her. That really put me over the edge.
Aw. Yeah, that's not as hard a decision once it poops on your floor. All right, well, let's talk about the royals. So in our last episode, number 159, and that was 2 weeks ago, remember, we talked about the fact that Kate isn't expected to go to Singapore with William for the Earthshot Awards in early November. And they're still talking and writing about that and making excuses. Like they're saying she's a reluctant traveler, she's focused on her kids, and she has to stay in the UK because that's the week George has like a test for school and it's like a qualifying test or something. And then she made sure to mention it at an event she was doing.
Yeah, it was real obvious that she was like, oh, and by the way, George gets tested all the time. Like, I don't understand British school systems whatsoever, nor do I understand boarding schools.
Yeah.
From what I've read, it's not like George has to take that particular test that particular week. There are several options for him to, like, take a test in a certain time period. So the excuse about, oh, she has to miss Earthshot that week because of George's test, it doesn't make much sense.
I'm sure they just came up with it afterwards because it was convenient for them. It is really cutthroat to get into the private schools, but he's the future king. He's not going to have any trouble. Like,
right, and it's a nepotism thing. William and Harry both went to Eton as well.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, oh, no, you can't come here, George. It's Harry's fault because he wrote spare. Then we're hearing that Kate is going to step out solo, according to Robert Jobson. And he wrote in the Daily Express that her profile is going to receive a boost, but she needs to let William spread his wings, you know, because when she goes with him, everybody focuses on her outfits and her. And
which is true.
The little bitch is jealous. You can tell he's jealous.
And like, he's just seething about, oh no, I'm not jealous. Of course I want, you know, Kate to get attention. But meanwhile, he's looking for any excuse to leave her at home and just do events solo.
Yeah.
And, you know, as long as we've been covering William and Kate, they've always been talked about as if they're fresh out of college, just figuring out their careers. These are two 41-year-olds.
Yeah, that's the excuse that they use, is that she's finding her footing, but then at the same time, she never puts a foot wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just mixed messages, but it's the same with William.
Like, William has to spread his wings at the age of 41. He's, like, just now learning how to spread his wings. Are you fucking kidding me? And, like, he's done jack shit for 20 years.
Yeah, because he hasn't had to, because he's going to be king no matter what he does. It doesn't matter what he does, you know, he's going to inherit it.
But that's the thing, like, that was Charles's situation. Charles still built things. He still built a foundation. He still built the Prince's Trust.
Because he had interests. Yeah. You know, William just doesn't care about anybody but himself.
William is profoundly incurious, in addition to being lazy.
Yeah, he is.
Kate is the same way. I think in that sense, they are two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
They genuinely do not care. They are not curious about the world. They don't have passions.
But they got free iPhones last weekend.
Oh,
we assume they did. They got to see Apple CEO Tim Cook. And Kate wore a little turtleneck.
Little ode to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
The Tim Cook photo op was really interesting because they didn't actually put anything about it on their social media. Will and Kate, they did not. That was all Tim Cook putting the photos on his Twitter.
Huh. They asked him to do it? What do you think?
I don't know, because it just read like sponsored content. Except it was Tim Cook just handing them some iPhones, getting his quick photo op.
We don't know. Did they show him giving the iPhones? We just know that he had gift bags in there, right?
Yeah, there were gift bags in the photos.
Yeah. So maybe they didn't get iPhones, but we would assume they did. Maybe he gave them the leftover iPad minis. Nobody wants those. I had one, I broke it twice. I got it repaired and I broke it again.
But it makes them look cheap. It makes them look like that's all it took for them to endorse Apple products is just a quick photo.
See, Apple doesn't need them. You know how Apple's we're never going to pay to be in a show, but we can't be owned by the villains?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that would be counter messaging for this.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Cook didn't have to spend any money for this. He just went to Kensington Palace, handed them a couple of free phones, and that was it.
You know what I was thinking? Sorry, go ahead.
He got the endorsement. He got a royal endorsement for that cheap.
So you remember how Apple had to pay all that money in Ireland because they didn't pay taxes?
Oh, yeah.
Yo, I wonder if it's related to that.
Could be.
Yeah, because they have political clout, the royals do. And they're the easiest to access.
Yeah, that's true.
I bet it has something to do with that. So they also did events for Black History Month this week, and they looked super awkward. Will and Kate did. And then we got stories about how hunky William was afterwards. It was so dumb.
Yeah, it wasn't even about Windrush or Black history or substantial diversity programs. It was all those older ladies, they were flirting with William. He's a hunk. He's a royal hunk now.
Ugh. And that's the exact words they use. It's so dumb. And then Kate went to a community center and she brought nada, zip, zilch. They always show up empty-handed. So if you sign up for our mailing list, you can get the top 10 stories about the Waleses showing up empty-handed, right? But I didn't even update it with this because 10 is the limit of the stories. I usually do top 8 stories. That's what all the marketing people say. They say, do the top 8, So I did 10 for them. And now I have to delete one to make room for more.
That's how often they show up empty-handed.
Yeah.
It was really stupid for her to show up empty-handed, but this is not the most egregious event where she and William showed up empty-handed. I still carry grudges over their visits to refugee children who have absolutely nothing, and they could not bring a toy. They could not bring clothes. They weren't bringing diapers.
No.
How self-centered are you to not even think to just bring a little something for children who have nothing?
Yeah, that's outrageous. So we talked about the royals on Zoom, and this is Amira, Karen, Zakia, and Ashley.
When they went to that Black History Month event, I just noticed how she had those really deep, dark circles under her eyes in the photos. She's just not looking well.
I think whatever's going on is getting worse.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes when you've had work done, like a facelift or a lot of Botox, you do extra to make your face move because you don't feel like it's moving enough. So it comes off as exaggerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think you're doing it normal, but you're doing it so much that it looks weird because I think she's probably started to lose sensation, or you know how you've just gotten so much over time and whatever work she's had done, she's overcompensating. So it looks like, oh my God, where she's just trying to get her face to move a normal amount.
She's sitting there in that cottage alone, looking at her little Pinterest boards of Meghan and losing her mind.
The gray outfit, gray sweater and gray pants.
With that stupid shirt underneath.
With the stupid with the I'm like, what?
It's like a Peter Pan.
It's really like if you're going to wear a sweater vest and you want to put a shirt underneath it, you don't wear a mock neck sweater vest. I'm like, who dressed you?
I don't love the gray outfit, but if she had done that gray outfit for the event with the Black people, it wouldn't have felt as if, well, here, dang, I'm doing an event with Black people. Shut up, y'all.
I mean, she literally had worn that suit 4 days prior. I'm like, you could, all the clothing you have, I don't even care if she repeats. I think she should repeat more. She doesn't need 35 green coats. But to do the suit that you did 2 to 3 days prior, you're saying something there, miss.
Exactly. I felt some kind of way about her repeating that outfit with Black people.
Yep.
Like every time she does an event with Black people where it's specifically about Black people, it's almost always she does something in which is like, you didn't even try.
I really like that point that Zakiya was making, that maybe Kate can't feel her face, and that's why she does the grimacing and that wide smiling. Although Karen was saying that her pupils do look dilated, so it could be two things, you know?
Yeah, I think it's several things. Yeah, her pupils do look dilated. She looks drugged. I remember years ago, like it was a People magazine editor, somebody like made a crack about how Kate does these exaggerated facial expressions because her face is falling. And I've never been able to get that out of my head. It's like she's trying to like keep from looking jowly or saggy, but she gets so much work done. I don't think that matters at this point. I think she just doesn't know how to behave. She doesn't know how to behave appropriately in business situations or professional situations.
There is something to the idea that she got Botox and she can't smile right, so she overly smiles to compensate. I've heard other celebrities say that they've had problems smiling or that their face was stuck a certain way from Botox. And
well, you can see that on like the Kardashian and Jenner women. Like Kylie's face was fucked up for years because she was getting so many fillers and injectables and whatever. You could tell that she literally didn't know what her face was doing. Same with Kim.
And there's so many celebrities now, like you just did Jennifer Lawrence's appearance, who are looking really jacked up. And like I have a Peloton instructor who's young. I have one. There is a Peloton instructor who's young who just looks whack now. And like she was so pretty before. Like, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I think there's like some sort of gateway drug of, you know, your doctor or your dermatologist. It's just a few little injections and it'll just make you look a little bit younger. And like, that's how it starts.
Your friends. Plus, like, where I live now, you can go to the strip mall and get it. You could walk in.
That's gross.
It is. I'm glad I have this job because I've never gotten bangs or Botox. And so Ashley and Amira, they're saying, and this is a really good point that they're making, that it was deliberate that Kate repeated that outfit when she met with Black people. It was offensive.
I think so too. And I didn't think of it at the time. I just thought, oh, she did a repeat. But it was pointed.
Yeah.
And it was racial too.
Yeah, it was racist. She's a racist piece of shit. I wrote that on our document and I was like, I better not say that. And you're like, go ahead and say it. So I'm saying
She is. She's a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
She's a Karen. She always has been a Karen.
Yep. And it's always the untalented ones that are like that. You know, it's not people who have stuff going for them. I mean, she's going to be queen or whatever. She married the heir and she's
going to be queen or whatever.
Right? But this is what she's serving and it's nothing.
Yeah. All of her ill-fitting pantsuits, it just makes me miss all of her Victorian cosplay. It really does.
I didn't excerpt that from our Zoom, but we talked about that, and Amira and I were talking about the fact that that's her style and it's dippy, but it's fine because it's her. You know?
I don't think it was her. It was her cosplaying the queen because that was the only other woman around.
Of the queen, yeah. And Amira said the little mini skirts, the flouncy little mini skirts, like the early 2000s shit she was wearing.
Yeah,
before.
That's the kind of stuff that she wore to get William, to get him to pay attention to her. And like she was still wearing that shit when she was pregnant with George. It was ridiculous.
Maybe she worked at the Top Shop or wherever. Where was she working? Jack in the Box? What's it called? Jigsaw. Maybe she actually paid attention at that job. She would have gotten a little bit of styling.
I don't know. But like, I don't think the Victorian cosplay is her actual style, but it suited her. Like, I got used to it. All those button covered coat dresses, the ridiculous hemlines and all that stuff. And now that she's copying Meghan, it just shows you like how terrible her style is, that she can't even work out how to put together those outfits in the way that Meghan just kind of like breezes through. And she's like, oh, this goes together.
It's like all wrong. It's like a Picasso of Meghan stuff. Like... All right, let's talk about Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas. So we talked about them in episode 157 because he filed a little over a month ago for divorce from her. And he's been trying to push this narrative that she's partying, which was like a mean and bad PR move, but he didn't really need it because the children have U.S. residency. And as someone who went through an international divorce, it wasn't acrimonious. We worked it out. It's annoying to me how many people insist Sophie is right when the children have U.S. residency. Like, that's how they consider where the children live under like the Hague laws and the international child custody rules. The children lived in the U.S.
They were born in the U.S. They lived in the U.S. for the bulk of their lives. And they're like, oh, but Sophie got a pediatrician in Britain. Okay, but she still said goodbye to them for the entire summer while she worked, and he had the kids after they supposedly moved to Britain.
By her own filing,
yeah,
they moved to England in April of this year. April of 2023. And then her kids were in the U.S. for the whole summer. So they obviously have U.S. residency. I was looking up more about there was a Supreme Court ruling in 2020 on habitual residency for children. That's how they determine international child custody. No judge is going to say that they're UK citizens because they intended to move to the UK. It gets on my nerves that everyone's arguing for her because that's not the case.
I mean, like, the whole way that she flipped that on him by talking about child abduction and making a big deal about the passports, like, there was a reason he had their passports, because they're American citizens, and he went to Florida court to ensure that she didn't take them out of the country. Like, he wasn't abducting them.
She would have been if she took them out.
Yeah, he was protecting his custodial rights. He has every right to. Like, Joe Jonas is probably a complete and total fucking asshole. But he has every right to protect his custodial rights.
You can say that you don't like how Joe Jonas handled this, but also he's legally correct.
He is. And like, people are like, but she's winning the PR war. No, she's not.
We've had a lot of people attacking you for saying that the optics are bad of her going out with Taylor Swift when she has the kids in New York, when Joe has tried to paint her as a party person. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she's finally feeling free because she's going through a divorce. The optics are bad. You can argue that it's sexist to say she shouldn't be going out. If you want to go out, that's fine, but the judge is going to take that into consideration in your custody case.
Like, Joe Jonas doesn't even have to make like some huge involved case here. All he has to do is say she didn't have the children all summer, and then within days of her having these two little girls for the first time in months, she's bar hopping with Taylor Swift.
And there's evidence of that all over the internet.
It's bonkers that she thought that the optics of that were correct, that they made her look good.
So we talked about this on Zoom, and this is Amira, Karen, and Zakia.
Oh, well, in the comments are like, what do you mean, Kaiser? What do you mean it looks bad? It's like optics shouldn't matter. Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Optics do matter. She's a famous woman with two small children who's trying to establish that she should be, at that point, the primary caregiver. And she's out on the town all the time being papped, coming in and out of bars and restaurants. It looks bad. And regardless of how you feel about it, it's not about that. It's about what a judge is going to look at and be like. Because even when she had the kids, when he dropped the kids off in New York, she was out with Taylor 2 nights in a row. But you're supposed to have your kids that you wanted so badly. Even if the kids were asleep when she went out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't look right. And people were pissed at Kaiser for saying that it didn't look right.
He's already putting this narrative out there about she likes to drink and party. And what are you doing? Going out to not, again, it shouldn't be, and it's sexist. I get that. But again, your husband is trying to put this narrative out there, and all you're doing is helping the narrative.
Yeah. Right. They were supposed to move to England. He didn't want to do it. And he decided to just leave the marriage. He was like, well, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to cut the cord.
Yeah.
I think he tried the PR smear campaign. That backfired. He should have never tried it in the first place because he has the legal standing to do what he needs to do. That wasn't even necessary. It's annoying. They are so annoying between them and the Swifties.
Well, it's a reason that Sophie and Taylor are friends.
That's Joe, because they're both immature girls and they can sit and talk shit about him together in our PJs.
Yeah. Even the whole vibe around Taylor going to the football game and bringing Blake and Ryan, and
she brought like a squad.
And even when she would see him on the field or he would make a play or something and she's hitting Blake like, oh my God. It's like, are we at a high school football game?
So yeah, Sophie is friends with Taylor Swift. She's hanging out in New York with Taylor. She's staying at one of Taylor's apartments in New York.
So yeah, my thing was the first night that Sophie and Taylor went out, when we didn't fully understand the full scope of the situation, I thought it was fine. I thought it was really funny and cool that they went out and that like Taylor made a point of like, you know, being buddy with Joe's ex-wife. It was a great photo op. It was a great gossip story. And then 2 days later, Sophie accuses Joe of like abduction. And, you know, she makes this very dramatic legal filing. And that night, she's out bar hopping with Taylor Swift. Then the next weekend, she's out with Taylor Swift again. It looks like she's getting really bad advice.
Yeah, that's well put. And Taylor is Taylor. You know, she's going to get her stink all over the NFL.
Yeah, and like, I think Taylor will be a great friend if you're going through a bad divorce and you need to vent. I think that Taylor will be a great friend for that kind of situation. But when you're fighting for custody of your children, don't go to Taylor Swift for advice.
Yeah, she's in a much different situation and place in her life. So Sophie was at the last Kansas City Chiefs game that Taylor went to with Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman. And the NFL is all over Taylor and her new boyfriend, tight end Travis Kelce. I don't really watch football or know much about it, but
he's cute. He goes and pursues Taylor Swift, and he's like making this big deal about, oh, I tried to give her a friendship bracelet. And somehow that worked. And Taylor was like, yeah sure, let's do it. He definitely pursued her. And I think she takes it as a compliment.
It seems like they're having fun. He seems like he has a good head on his shoulders, too, for what that's worth.
Yeah, like, he seems smarter and more
together.
Well, he just seems smarter than some of her exes, especially Matt Healy. Matt Healy's an idiot, a racist idiot.
Yeah, he's really terrible.
And it must be nice for her to, like, just be with Mr. All-American guy who's, you know, kind of a clever football player who supports getting vaccines. You know, like, he doesn't seem massively problematic.
Yeah, the bar is low, but he's okay.
I think the story of Trailer is fun. It's fun gossip. It's going to be fun to cover as they're dating, and it's going to be fun when it ends because it'll be chaos when it ends.
So in Zoom, they were saying it'll probably last till after the Super Bowl. What do you think?
But she's going
March, April, they'll break up. Oh, she's going on tour next year.
Yeah, she's going on tour again internationally. And then, so she'll probably miss some of the football season, but they'll figure out a way to make it work. Long distance, I would assume. Considering the way the Chiefs are playing, they probably will make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
She'll find a way to make it there if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl.
She loves the attention. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My comment of the week was from one of the stupid stories about, oh, the Daily Mail says Prince William is a big royal hunk now. He's a big hit with the ladies. As part of that story, William apparently, when he was like posing for photos, he said, "Is someone pinching my bottom?" And
he did the accent. He did the accent.
And so commenter Kreama, she wrote, "All ridiculous aside, who's pinching my bottom is very inappropriate. It makes me think he's assuming someone wants to, which is quite presumptuous and crass. And he, of any royal family member, should know to treat any mention of his own bum like the plague if he found Prince of Pegging so disturbing." Like, why is everyone always calling attention to William's ass? And he's even started doing it now, too. Kate is constantly groping his ass in public.
Yeah. Maybe she's doing it as a power move.
And then there's all of the pegging rumors. And now William is himself mentioning his ass in mixed company. Like, stop talking about your ass.
If he's really into that, it's kind of cool that he's mentioning his ass. Like, good for him. You know? Right? If all that's true, and he's like, yeah, grab my ass, go for it. I'm like, okay, you do you, William. Like I said a while ago, it's like the most interesting thing about him, you know? Maybe he's like, you know, so hemmed into being the prince or whatever that he can't be his wild self.
No, I think he's way too repressed to like ever fly his freak flag like that.
I don't know. I'd be kind of into it if he did, but he's not gonna.
He would never go like, yeah, I'm into begging. Of course I am.
No, he wouldn't. Because, I mean, that's a personal sex thing. People aren't saying, oh, I really like oral, unless there's celebrities like The Rock or whatever. Or DJ Khaled. Remember when DJ Khaled's like, no, I would never go down on my lady.
I loved all the reactions to that, though. Like a true king always does.
He's so nasty. So my comment of the week is from the post about Commander Biden being sent away for being a good boy and doing his job. So I have a couple of comments of the week because I just wanted to talk about that. So Steph said, the dogs are definitely being politicized. The arguments are going to be, how can he manage the country if he can't even manage his dogs? Then they'll try to appeal to all dog lovers by saying he abandoned them. So that's Steph's comment. And then Susan Collins said, the Secret Service wants the dog gone. I think the dog knows who is not to be trusted, and I believe Joe trusts the dog. I would keep the dog at the White House, and too bad for the Secret Service.
I grew more and more disturbed the more I covered all of the Secret Service stuff. Like,
yeah, the way they were talking
there's
about
something
him.
really wrong going on.
Yeah.
Something else I was thinking about with the whole biting situation was there's never any complaint about barking. You know how weird that is? Like, if the dog is feeling threatened enough to bite people, then surely he would feel threatened enough to bark at them.
So my dog is like 16 months old now. He's under 2, and I have a German Shepherd. And he nips, he mouths things. He doesn't hurt you. He tries to hurt you. And I sincerely wonder if the biting is just a gentle dog mouthing, or the dog trying to hurt you, or the dog being bored and trying to play. Because he doesn't really hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes he'll nip me because he's mad that I'm doing something. And when I talk to him, I'll be like, you want that stick? Let me get you the stick. And he'll be like, okay. You know, he's not trying to hurt me.
Right.
He just wants to play. And sometimes he'll nip me if I put my shoes on. He thinks I'm leaving without him. And if I say, I'm just going to the car, I'll be right back, he stops. Because he's a herding dog. I mean, I really wonder the extent of these injuries.
Yeah, I worry about the extent. I worry that the Secret Service are just completely fucking lying. Because,
yeah,
like, there's the barking thing. There's no reports of barking.
No barking, yeah.
Dogs have a warning system. They will growl at you.
Yeah.
If they really feel threatened, they will bark or they will growl.
Yes.
And
exactly.
There's no talk of any of that. They make it sound like this poor dog is just running around clamping down on every Secret Service agent. And that's just not how dogs behave.
He probably is being mouthy with them and trying to hurt them or trying to play. And that's what the young German Shepherds do.
Yeah.
You know, you got to adjust to it. And maybe they can't respond, and it escalates from the dog because they have to do their job and they can't be like, oh, you know, and play with the dog or whatever. But it annoys me how they're painting Commander as a bad dog when he's, you know, he's just a puppy.
Yeah, he's just a dog, like, trying to do his job. Yeah, it really bugs me. All of the reporting bugs me. The way the Secret Service is suddenly doing all of this leaking about the dog and about what they think of Biden.
Yeah.
I don't think that the dog is exactly being politicized like Steph said. I don't think that that's the particular agenda. I think that the Secret Service is just compromised and dysfunctional, and Biden knows it, and Biden doesn't fucking trust them. He's like, if I can't trust you to tell me the truth about my dog, how am I supposed to trust you with my family's life?
And German Shepherds are excellent guard dogs, and they're good family dogs too, because they're not going to mess with your friends coming over the house unless they've, you know, had significant trauma or something like that. But if you've had a German Shepherd from a puppy, they're sweet to everybody who's nice to them.
Right. And everything that we've seen of Commander is that he is a very friendly dog and that he loves people.
Yeah. And they only lash out when they're threatened, so.
And there are some sources, like I put a link into that one post about Biden had concerns last year that the Secret Service were lying about his dogs and that the Secret Service agents were actually provoking the dogs.
I want him to have his dogs by him. Like, both of them protecting him at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the Secret Service.
They have been compromised. They deleted all those fucking texts from January 6th.
It's sketch.
The whole thing is fucking sucks.
Doug, that's the only home he's known. You know? He wants to be with his mom and dad. It's not fair.
These poor dogs.
All right. I know. They're going to get good lives, but still. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. Protect Willow Biden. Poor kitty.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.